I ran across a video of Amanda Seales urging voters to vote. And really, she was urging black voters to vote. Now, I've talked about Amanda Seales before, but this video is a little bit different. This video actually exposes how Amanda Seales really feels about black people. And I also want to note that these celebrities or these people of influence or these entertainers or these athletes, they don't know any more than the average person when they're discussing a certain subject matter. We only assume they do because they have a platform and a fan base. But in actuality, these people don't know more than the average person. They're not educated on what they're talking about. They have an opinion and they have a large group of people to listen to that opinion. But that does not make them correct, and it doesn't even make them credible. It just simply makes them popular. And 99.9% of them will go along with what the media is putting out there. They're not woke. They're not conscious. They are simply going to regurgitate what the media is feeding everybody. And when I say regurgitate, I mean vomit the same propaganda the media feeds us. But before I get into Amanda Seales, I want to discuss Barack Obama. And I want to discuss how looking at policy is very important. You see, Barack Obama really won our vote because we assumed he was a black president. And so we endorsed him on that alone. But we never really looked at his policies or even what we thought his policies could potentially be. All we saw was black president. I'm not doing it justice. It needs more nostalgia. Barack Obama was the first black president. So that means his election was historic. So many black voters were voting to make history. I'm still not doing it justice. We thought Barack Obama was actually going to save us.
Do that as president.
Senator Obama, your position on reparations?
I think the reparations we need right here in South Carolina is investment, for example, in our schools. I did a town hall meeting in Florence, South Carolina, in an area called the Corridor of Shame. They've got buildings that students are trying to learn in that were built right after the Civil War. And we've got teachers who are not trained to teach the subjects they're teaching in, high dropout rates. We've got to understand that there are corridors of shame all across the country. And if we make the investments and understand that those are our children, that's the kind of reparations that are really going to make a difference in America right now.
Is anyone on the stage for reparations?
We made him our new Messiah, the second coming of Jesus.
Yes, I am for repairing the breach. Yes, I am for reparations.
The prayer of every slave manifested.
You were not without criticism of Obama.
No, I was not. I did not always like the way he addressed African Americans.
In what way?
I thought that there was a rhetoric of what people term as respectability politics. That is that African Americans, because of some aspect of their behaviors, bear some responsibility for the fact that there are huge gaps, huge socioeconomic gaps between the black community and the rest of the country. Not only do I not believe that, I don't believe it's appropriate for the President of the United States to say that.
He was going to lift black people out of oppression and take us to the promised land.
Flint's recovery is everybody's responsibility. And I'm going to make sure that responsibility is met. We invest. Can I get some water? Come on up there. I want a glass of water.
Get a bottle. Bottle water.
I want a glass of water. Thank you. I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
What? He wet his lips. He did not drink it. He didn't sip it. He wet his lips.
There was an audible gasp in the audience. People were just like absolutely dejected. Why would you do that?
But I want to contextualize Barack Obama as a black president. Imagine a black president that is against reparations and doesn't have a black agenda. That would be like a Jewish president not having a Jewish agenda and being against reparations for Jewish people, or a Hispanic president being against reparations for Hispanic people or not having a Hispanic agenda, or an Asian president that was against reparations for Asian people in America and did not have an Asian agenda. It just wouldn't happen. It could only happen with a so-called black president, because every other race of president would have looked out for the people that put them in office, because they wouldn't have gotten into office without offering their people something.
What would you say that people can say, that was good or bad for black people in particular about the Obama presidency? Because a lot of the perception amongst a lot of black people here is that, the neighborhood is still the same. You still have 45% black unemployment rate in Southside Chicago where Obama lived. And I would just say, if he just tweeted about it a few times, that right there might drive people to action if he even acknowledged it. It almost seems that Trump has this, part of his trump card, if you will, pun intended, is that he can tweet about the things that Obama never touched, and basically say, look, at least I'm talking about it. At least I'm talking about black people. Your own black president didn't seem to really even want to talk about your issues at all, right? I don't know.
And that was a tragedy of Obama.
So we were more concerned with having a black president than we were having black policies.
Barack Obama never claimed to be a progressive, to be left of center. He was always pretty much a Democratic centrist. His views were not very different from Hillary. She probably was to the left of him. She probably would have done more for black people than he did. He was always caught up in, I'm not a black president, I'm the nation's president. I remember I interviewed him in 2004. I was working with Willie Gary's television station at the time. At the convention, I was lucky enough to snag him. We know people in common, Charles Ogletree, others. So we're having a very, very lovely conversation until I ask him about reparations. At which point, my man jumps up off the chair and says, turn that camera off. He has a total.
Oh, wait, don't skim over that story.
Barack Obama did not support reparations, and none of us had a problem with it. Joe Biden does not support reparations, and none of us have a problem with it. Kamala Harris does not support reparations, and none of us have a problem with it. But what they're not bringing up is the fact that they support reparations for everybody else.
Why not say then, this is for you? This is for African Americans. If there was a banking crisis, then you target money for the banks. If there was a national disaster, you target your money for the national for disaster relief.
That's not how America works. We want to give those young people and young Native Americans like them the support they deserve. We have to invest in them and believe in them and love them.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you? This is for African Americans.
That's not how America works.
President Barack Obama has begun new initiatives aimed at helping young American Indians or Native Americans overcome the many challenges they face, from poverty to substance abuse.
So these politicians have and are sending us a very clear message.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you? This is for African Americans.
That's not how America works. And few have been more marginalized and ignored by Washington for as long as Native Americans, our first Americans.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you? This is for African Americans.
That's not how America works.
But I want to highlight this point. And that point is, just because a black person is in a position of leadership does not mean they will be beneficial for black people.
I am sure that somewhere when I was 2 years old, I was taking a chip of paint, tasting it, and I got some lead.
Yeah, that's like talking about well, I didn't wear a seatbelt and I'm fine. It's like, but there were tons of people that died.
Backstage, the president, sitting at the table with the criminal governor, decided to perform his stunt all over again.
You know, generally I have not been doing stunts here, but, you know.
That's not what I expected. That's what Snyder did.
It felt like he minimized like what people were actually going through and struggling with. If you were actually lead poisoned, you would not be president. You would be janitor Barack Obama.
And also, simply voting for someone because we assume that they are black hasn't worked either.
We were holding on to hope that he would declare a disaster area. A disaster would give us FEMA, it would give us pipe replacement, get engineers in here. Then we could get Medicare for all the residents of Flint. As soon as he took a drink of the water and said everything's fine, that was that.
And look at it, years later, it's still poison.
When he came here, he was my president, but when he left, he was not my president.
I would again go back to the president's visit last week. He reinforced the message that filtered water has been determined to be safe for people to drink.
This, again, was our hero, and we thought he was going to come here and help us.
So if politicians can expect almost 100% of our vote, then I think they should give us something.
When I look at the mass unemployment, mass underemployment, mass incarceration, especially in the black community, but I'm talking about poor and working people across the board, it seems to have a very low priority. It seems to be an afterthought. That's what I mean when I say one becomes a puppet for corporate plutocrats and a mascot for Wall Street oligarchs.
And the point of the book that I wrote that came out in January, The Covenant with Black America 10 years later, we did a version a decade ago, we found that over the last 10 years, black people have lost ground in every major economic category. In every major category, black folk have lost ground. Now, clearly, one cannot lay that exclusively at the feet of Mr. Obama. There was a headwind of obstructionism. That's true. But his most loyal constituency didn't gain any ground over the last 10 years, and that saddens me in a way that I can't even describe.
But that's because of the basic Obama policy, which was all government all the time. Private enterprise would be tightly regulated, rich people would be taxed more, and you'd just run up the debt. And it didn't work for anybody, quite frankly, except maybe the super rich.
Yeah, well, the rich always get richer and the poor get poorer, and this gap between the rich and the rest of us continues to expand.
Because we already know, based on history, they'll look out for everyone else.
President Obama, while campaigning on a message of change, has surrounded himself with old Washington hands. And the unemployment rate for African Americans is 16%. We asked the White House to comment, but they declined.
Today, you could point to a large number of Negro leaders who have consistently betrayed Negroes in a whole host of areas.
They aren't really Negro leaders. These are puppets that have been put in front of the Negro community by white liberals. These are parrots that have been put in front of the Negro community by white liberals. You can't name me a Negro leader who has been betrayed Negroes, who has not been endorsed, sanctioned, subsidized, and supported by the white liberals.